Hi parents, this is Miss Blankenship again. I wanted to go ahead and drop a quick video to maybe see if I can help you understand how to do some of your homework, help the kids with their homework tonight in math. As I mentioned on the message that I did, we had a lot of confusion, and so that's why I kind of spent a lot of times on questions just like question 1 and question 2, and I also told you they don't have to go on to the next ones because I didn't cover those in class. We're going to cover those. We're going to pick up where we left off on this tomorrow so that I'm sure that everybody is able to understand the first set of it. So this is combining or subtracting, adding or subtracting measurements, and there's still conversion in there. So in this one, we're looking at gallons, quarts, cups. And so the chart that I put on Class Dojo Stories last week, where it gives you the conversion rates, we do use that a lot. So make sure you do refer back to that as you're helping them with homework. So let's look at just some of the problems that we had to do. For example, number 1A, it is asking you to combine 5 quarts and 3 quarts and figure out how many gallons we're going to have. As I told them in class, this is kind of just like adding and subtracting decimals. You have to have like units. So, I'm sorry, not decimals, but fractions. You have to have like units. So you're adding quarts to quarts. So that's fine. So you would come in and you would say 5 plus 3 would give you 8 quarts. All right, in the 8 quarts, we know that 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. So in this conversion, since I have a total of 8 quarts, that means if I were to set them or split them up into 4 quarts, which is 1 gallon, plus another 4 quarts, because after you take these 4 quarts away from this 8 quarts, you'll still have 4 more quarts. That is going to give you 2 gallons. So 5 quarts plus 3 quarts would equal 2 gallons. If we come down here to C, you have 1 gallon minus 3 quarts equals how many quarts? Well, since this is gallons and this is quarts, you're going to have to make one of them match the other. And since I cannot make 3 quarts into a gallon, I can turn 1 gallon into quarts. And we do that because, just like I said up here, 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. So that would mean I can turn my 1 gallon into 4 quarts. And then I can subtract my 3 quarts, which would give me 1 quart. Okay. And then another one that was really confusing for them was when we went over here to say D, and we did 3 gallons minus 2 quarts. Now, I discovered that if I wrote it like this, 3 gallons minus, and then if you come down here, you have to keep your units together. This is 2 quarts. So over here, we have 0 quarts because we don't have any, and we have 0 gallons. So just like in addition, you have to keep your 1s and your 10s together. We have to keep our quarts and our gallons together. Now, in order to subtract, since you cannot take 2 quarts from 0 quarts, we're going to have to borrow a quart. Some quarts from here. So if we borrow from here, you're going to have 2 gallons left. But over here, because we're borrowing quarts from a gallon, our gallons, we're taking out 4 gallons. 4 quarts. I'm sorry. We're taking 4 quarts from this 3 gallons and putting it in our quarts thing. So just like when we're borrowing in subtraction, you're taking, like, for example, in subtraction, we would have been taking 10 from here, and we put 10 in the ones place. Over here, we're taking 4 quarts from this 1 gallon that we borrowed. And that means 4 quarts that we're borrowing plus the 0 we already had. So we now have 4 quarts in the quarts column. So now we can take away 4 and 2, which will give us 2 quarts. And then we can take away 2 gallons from 0 gallons, which would give us 2 gallons. So 3 gallons minus 2 quarts equals 2 gallons and 2 quarts. And unfortunately, I discovered that this was a little bit easier for some of them, a little bit late. So I didn't show them this on these problems, but we did start doing it once we came down here to this set of problems. So if you can show them that this way, it might be a little bit easier because they're seeing where they're coming from. What is confusing them, I noticed, though, is when I borrow from a quarts from my gallon, they want to make it 10 because that's what they're so used to. And that's not what we're borrowing, though, because they have to stay with that conversion rate of 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. So try when you're helping them to keep that in their head, that because when we borrow a gallon over to the quart side, we're getting 4 quarts. All right, and I'm going to come down and do a few of these. Like I said, they're kind of getting and they're understanding adding because that's really easy. So like if we were to go here to A, you would be 2 quarts plus 3 quarts because we don't add gallons over here because you have to keep your like units together. And so that would be the 4 quarts coming down. 4 gallons coming down plus the 5 quarts that we added. But then this 5 can be broken into 4 quarts, which makes 1 gallon, and 1 quart left over. So this is still the 5 quarts. It's just broken into 4 quarts to give us a gallon and 1 quart left over. So that means now this 4 quart plus this 1 quart, this 4 gallons plus this 1 gallon that we just made from the 5 would give us 5 gallons and the 1 quart we had left over. And I'm sorry if I kind of confuse you because I keep saying quarts when I mean gallons. So let me say that again. You keep your 4 gallons because you cannot add those to the you keep your 4 gallons because you cannot add that to your and then you add your 2 quarts and your 3 quarts to make 5 quarts. But since I know that I can get 4 quarts out of this 5 quarts to make 1 more gallon, and then I'll have 1 quart left over. So that gives me the 4 gallons that we started with plus the 4 quarts that becomes 1 gallon for 5 gallons, and then the 1 quart that we have left. And then really, again, here is where we have the 11 gallons and 3 pints minus 4 gallons and 6 pints. So again, if you can write that like this, keeping your gallons and your pints together. And then because you cannot take 6 pints out of 3 pints, you need to borrow pints from here, which we're borrowing 1 gallon, and there are 8 pints in a gallon. So 8 pints equals 1 gallon. I don't think I put that on my chart. So that's something that we did do that today in class. So since we borrowed a gallon, over here, we're going to turn this 3, not into 13, but into 8 pints that we took out from this gallon, plus the 3. So that makes it 11 pints. So that's the 8 we borrowed, plus 9, 10, 11. Then you can take the 6 from the 11 and the 4 from the 10. All right, that should help you help the kids with the homework. If you still have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. And again, make sure that you let them know if they have any questions before school, before we start class, during morning work time, and before we leave at the end of the day. Those are the best time to ask me questions, because before that, I am really working on trying to get them ready for the next lesson. But as far as homework goes, they only need to do 1 and 2. The rest of it for lesson 6, we're going to pick up with that tomorrow. And then I think they'll probably get lesson 7, because it's the same thing. It's the same concept. It's just we're dealing in yards and feet. So I think if we get them to this part, we should be okay in changing up to the next part. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any other questions, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to try and help you. Other than that, I will see your babies tomorrow, and make sure if your child has not paid for their field trip and they want to go, that money gets sent in, because tomorrow is the deadline. All right. Thanks. Have a wonderful night, and I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye.